Hey everybody, I think I'm on. Sorry, there might have been a little glitch earlier when we started the broadcast. I think we may have had a little on-off situation. So I am completely on and ready for you guys. Happy Friday. It's Kate Richburg live from beadshop.com and it's Free Tip Friday today. I am going to bring up the Facebook broadcast here on my phone so I can see you guys jump on and say hello. Hi everyone. Let me just make sure we're on and running and all that good stuff here. Let me adjust the camera a little bit so I've got, you can see I've got some lint on my shoulder. Let me get rid of that. And let me see if I can find our broadcast here. I can see everybody say hello, but let me make sure I can get everybody on here as well. So I hope you guys are having a great Friday. I'm having a great Friday. Here we go. Beadshop.com is live now. There we are. Whoops, and I need to make sure that my volume is turned all the way down so you're not hearing me twice. There we go. All right. I see you. You see me. Perfect. Today we are going to have a fun time. I'm going to share with you a real old school chain link that I make. And I think you guys are going to enjoy it. And I'm going to mix it with some of our really fun, and some that I really love, our Czech glass rondelles. It's going to be a really fun project for you guys. And I think it'll be fun for you to do this weekend. It'll be a great weekend project. So let me get everything organized here. And let's see who's here. Gosh, everyone's here. Everyone who's anyone is here for the Friday broadcast. That's perfect. Oh, hello from Eileen from Pembrokeshire, West Wales in the UK. Oh, a place near and dear to my heart. Hello, hello. Hello, everyone from Canada and from the US. It looks like my mom is watching. Hi, Mama. Hope you're feeling good. Hello from Pennsylvania. That's great. It's great to see everybody here. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Okay, well, let me talk a little bit about the project that we're going to be using today. And it involves a tool that you guys may or may not have at home. But if you're like me, you do have some of these at home. And I'm going to pull it into the shot. Let me pull this back just a little bit to widen everything out. I don't have Brandwin on camera today. You know, on Fridays, we're a little more casual. I wing it a little bit more. But you can see, I'll pull this stuff out. You guys should know what these are and what this is. What are we now, a knitting store? No, but I bet you have a whole mess of knitting needles. Has a little bit of yarn fluff in there. That will be perfect as mandrels for this project. Here and here, right here. So I brought my collection in today to show you guys, and we're going to talk a little bit about making these chain links. And knitting needles are the perfect thing to use as mandrels when we're wrapping these links. So I'm going to put these aside, and we're going to look at them in a second. And then the other products that we're going to be using today, we're going to be using some wire. And I've got some 16 gauge, no, I'm lying to you, 18 gauge wire and 20 gauge wire. And those 20 gauge, that 20 gauge is going to go with this 5mm rondelle, and this 18 gauge is going to go with this 8mm. Whoops, that I just dropped on the floor. This 8mm rondelle. And we're going to talk a little bit about those different sizes and how they work. I'm going to lean down and pick this strand up right down here that fell on the floor. Got it. And you're going to need a really good flush cutter and maybe a little file of some kind. Okay, so that's all we're going to need. So let me turn this camera around and let's get cracking. So Here we go. You guys are talking about how it's stormy in different places. Well, I will tell you that here, finally in California, we're getting some much needed rain, which is great. We don't want to have another drought situation, so it's a little stormy here, but hopefully by the weekend, thanks for bearing with me. Sorry, it's a little, there we go. Alrighty. Hopefully by this weekend it'll be a little sunny and warm. And it's nice that here in the States we've started our daylight savings time. So some of you I know who are watching from around the world either haven't started your daylight savings time yet or actually do daylight savings. But we are here with our later days. Days are starting to get longer, which is awesome, awesome, awesome. So, all right, let me pull in these knitting needles here, and let's start with this. Now, I know, and some of you have mentioned earlier, that you do have some knitting needles and stuff that you can use, but if you don't have knitting needles, you could also use a dowel, you could use a pen or a pencil even, like this, doesn't really matter, but just something that we're going to wind the wire around. So I'm going to start by using 18 gauge wire. You can see here's 18 gauge. I'm also going to adjust, you guys, it looks, the photo might be a little bright, the picture. So I'm going to close. When I started the broadcast, it was a little cloudy, but now it's getting a little sunny. So let me turn the lights, or get the sun going out just a little bit. There we go. I think that's a little bit better, maybe. Can we see my hand? Am I still so blown out? No, I think it's better. All right. Thank you for that. Alrighty. Oh, here comes Brandwin to fix things, or to take a photo, or she's doing something. doing something with me. Alrighty. So I'm going to use 16 gauge or 18 gauge wire. I keep saying 16, but I don't know why I want to say that. But we're going to use the 18. This is just our simple craft wire. It's a non-tarnished silver. It's a real pretty color, real supple and nice to use. And this is where our millimeter gauge, some of you have already gotten our beloved millimeter gauge in, and this is our digital caliper right here. And you can see, oh, there we go, Brandwin, even better. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
A little bit of fixing here. And so this millimeter gauge I'm going to use to measure my knitting needle, or my mandrel as it's going to be right now. This is real close, the outside diameter. It's hard for you guys to see here. Let me move it closer into the shot. Can you see that? Nope, you can't. Can I? There we go. It's a 5 millimeter mandrel. So the inside diameter of the chain that I'm using is going to be a 5 millimeter. So this is a good size for this 18 gauge. I could also make it a little bit smaller, so I'm going to pull this one out. Let me see what this one is going to be. Let me measure this guy. This needle is about 3.5 millimeters or so, 3.6 millimeters. So I think these are both really good choices for what I've got. Though, if you have like a pen or a pencil, like I've got this pencil right here, let me measure what that if I were using it as a mandrel, would be close to about 8 millimeters. There we go, you can see that there. So that would also work, just depends. Get your caliper out, or not if you don't have one. Look around your house for some things to use, and any of little mandrels will work for you. So I'm going to grab my 18 gauge, and I know you guys haven't seen what I'm doing because it's a surprise. Sometimes even to me, Free Tip Friday is a surprise, so thanks for sticking with me on it. But we're going to start, I'm going to make my chain link starting with this group of 18 gauge and 8 gauge Czech glass rondelles, and this Czech glass rondelle is called Glazed Peach, and it's the Glazed Peach in 8 millimeter from beadshop.com. Also from beadshop.com we have the 5 millimeter rondelle, And that 5mm rondelle, it's the Ivory Mercury one, which is great. And yes, you guys are all talking about having a cup of tea. Yes, Eileen, I am ready for a cuppa, for sure. Maybe I'll make myself some after our broadcast, right? We're also going to need, for our project here, we're going to need some bent chain nose pliers. I've got those going on right here. We're going to need maybe a wire straightening plier. I always like to have that nylon jaw plier at the ready. And maybe our straight chain nose. Okay. We're also, for wrapping these beads, we might want to jump in, and I had it sitting here next to me, but I tossed it back in the box. Pardon me. We're also going to use a 24 gauge probably as well. But you could really use just about anything for your wire wrapping. So let's jump in with the 18 gauge. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to test it out, and I'm going to start with my larger knitting needle. Again, this one was, let me just double check the size. Let me re-zero this caliper out. And it's about a 4mm knitting needle, so the inside diameter of this is going to be 4mm. I love it. Everybody's coming on, and it's so cozy to be talking. If you're watching this later on our YouTube channel, you're missing all of the cozy talk that's going on right now here live with everybody jumping on and talking about making nice cups of tea, having a muffin. It's the perfect time to hang out, at least mid-morning here in Redwood City, California. But I love it that everybody is just jumping on. It feels super cozy. I love it. I feel very like I'm sitting down with my beading girlfriends, right? And maybe beading boyfriends, whoever else is out there. I don't want to just say ladies, because I know we've got some great guys who are out there making jewelry as well. Now you can see, as I've been chatting, let me get a little closer to what I've been doing. You can see I've been wrapping, I'm just doing some wraps right around this metal knitting needle. And see how I'm holding everything. Let me get it a little bit wider so you can see. See how I'm just winding right off the spool? Again, this is 18 gauge. And I'm holding the spool kind of at a right angle like this. And I come up and I just wind. Now, notice what I've done here. I have like a little, I don't know, almost like a little stopper, a little piece of wire that's kind of sticking up here so that my coil, as I'm making it, doesn't keep curling around, right? So I'm just going to curl and curl and curl to make a coil. Now, quick secret, you guys have seen me do this before, that I make my jump rings this way too. And so if I were winding jump rings, these jump rings would have an inner diameter of 4mm. If you have, let me double check and see if I have one in here. I might have a knitting needle gauge in my needles. If I do, I could tell you, but I don't think I do, actually. But you can get a knitting needle gauge and measure what your knitting needles are. I just kind of come in and jump in. What does Tammy say? Oh, Tammy, your husband Art is excited that he's my beading boyfriend. Of course! My bead and my soldering boyfriend too, right? Let's keep on twisting. There we go. All right, so I've got a nice length of coil here. Let's see how long I've got this. This is a little under 2 inches, so I'm going to keep going just a little bit more. So I continue to wrap. And again, just turn, but I'm getting a nice length of coil on here. Okay, And I'm turning, and I'm turning, and I'm turning. All right, let's see if I have about 2 inches here, okay? Yeah, just maybe 2 more turns. 1 and 2. Alrighty, perfect. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my flush cutter. This is my Xuron Maxi Shear flush cutter. And I'm going to cut this away. And I'm going to set this 18 gauge coil aside. And since this is a metal knitting needle, it's really easy to pull off the coil off of this needle really easily. If it's wood, you might have to finagle it out just a little bit more. Okay, so let me come in, and you guys can see, let me get a little bit tighter, and I'm going to tilt the camera just up just a little bit so you guys can see a little bit better. Bear with me here just a minute. There we go. I think that's better. And you guys could see that a little bit, I think, a little bit easier. So now we can see down into the coil of the coil that I've just made. And I'm going to come in, and with the flush side of my cutter, whoops, come back here. This coil is springy. I'm going to come in, and I really want you to see this. I'm going to clip a nice straight across, whoops, you can't see it, a nice straight across cut. And I'm going to clip it down. Okay, so I have a nice curve. And someone asked us, Anna, you asked if Gita is not here with us today. She's not. She's taking a well-deserved Friday night off in Copenhagen with friends. So she emailed me this morning. So bless her heart. She's having a great dinner as we speak. So we don't have a linker. But you guys know that everything that we're doing is on beadshop.com on our website. And after the broadcast, I'll go ahead and post a blog post on our blog, The Bead Table, and it'll also be linked from our homepage on beadshop.com. So don't you worry. I will have all of that info that you need. So, and Kathy, you asked earlier, did you see what we're making today? No, we're actually going to be doing a great wire bracelet that I love to do. It's an old school design of mine, but we're going to see it at the end because it'll evolve as I'm making it. So hang with me, and we will all see how this evolves. So I've got my coil, 18 gauge wire at about 2 inches. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, can you guys see where I made that cut across right here? Picture, where's my trusty awl? There we go. Picture where that cut comes. Picture it going halfway across, intersecting the coil right here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get my bent chain nose plier, and sometimes I have to kind of lift it up with my fingernail a little bit. Either my bent chain or my regular chain nose. But see how I'm going to grab that link that I've made about that halfway point across, and I'm going to bend it up at an angle. Can you see now it kind of looks like a little half moon? I'm going to press that little end kind of right in. Okay, let's get a little tighter so you can see. Now I'm going to cut 3 coils, maybe 3, maybe 4, 5, maybe 4 coils down, I think. Yeah, I like the looks of 4. But you could go 3, you could go more, you could go 5 or 6, whatever. Whoops, I'm sorry, I was a little out of frame there. Okay, so I'm going to count down 1, 2, 3, 4 coils. Maybe 5 coils, actually. So let's count that one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 coils. And now, whoops, that's not my cutter. This is my cutter. I'm going to come in. It's going to be a little tight, but I'm going to cut this away. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and really mindfully cut it across. And I'm going to flip this over. I'm going to see where that coil is bisected there. I'm going to scoot that up with my finger. This time I'll use my plain chain nose pliers to bend it up, but see how I kind of get it right in there? See how you can see it's, I grab half of it with that chain nose, really hold on to it and bend it up at a deliberate 90-degree angle. So you can see, and it doesn't really matter where these loops kind of come up. You can see that on my links, one is going one way and one is going the other. And I see our Emily Miller has also jumped on. Good morning, Emily. I wish you were here making these coils with me. You've missed everyone's cozy talk about getting together and beading with a cup of tea. So we all wish you were, or at least I wish you were here beading with a cup of tea with me. So I've got one link sitting right there. So now I'm going to do all of these links together. So let's go ahead and I'm going to kind of rapidly cut this coil up into, let's see, it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 coil lengths, because one of the coils is gets pulled up here at a half length, one gets pulled up here, and then we've got 4 or 5 lengths in between. Let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So yeah, we're going to cut a total of 6 lengths. Okay, so I'm going to cut away that little sharp end with the flush end of my cutter, and then I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to separate it out. Make sure that's 6. 1, 2, 3. That's actually 7. That's 1 too many. It felt like it. There we go. So see how I just kind of pull it away. I give myself a little space, and I come in and cut it. I'll put that aside. I'll fix the cut so it's nice and flush. Cut 6 lengths, or count 6 lengths rather. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Open it up and cut. Neaten it up. 2, 4, 6. Pull it out and clip. Now I haven't made these in so long, and this was a bracelet that I used to make and wear all the time. I love making it in copper. I love making it in silver. You can just link them all together so that they're links one after the other. 2, 4, 6, there we go. But when we put this together, I'm actually going to use this bead to make little stations in between. So bear with me here. We're almost done clipping this coil. 2, 4, 6. And clip. Whoops, come back here, coil. Neaten that side up. And let's do one more. 2, 4, 6. And then we'll cut this one away. So that 2-inch coil has given me, let me get rid of all these little wire bits. That 2-inch coil has given me 2, 4, 6, 7 components. Okay, so let me make all of these little coils over here look like this little coil, so we've got the connectors on. Okay, so let's do this kind of as in a production line. I'm going to come in and I'm going to clip with my flush end of my cutter. I know I've done some of these a flush cut already anyway, but I'm just going to cut them all. Whoops, they're bouncy little guys. Just making sure that both ends are nice and flush. Now, if you wanted, you could file these ends if you felt like you needed to, but I think that my flush cutter is nice and even. The wire we're using is an 18 gauge silver plate wire with a non-tarnish coating. Looks like this. There it is. Let me get it back in the shot. There we go. And I used a 4mm knitting needle to do my wrapping. Now you can make these links larger or smaller, bigger with a bigger diameter or a smaller diameter. I pulled some of that 20 gauge. I'm going to make a few of these in 20 gauge too in a little bit, not quite yet. Okay, so here's this here. And again, you guys, I'll have all of this listed on our blog a little bit later, and you'll be able to see all of the techniques. But before we end today, I'll go over all the materials one more time. So I'm going to come in with my chain nose, and see how I lifted it a little bit with my finger. It might be a little bent to the side, so just straighten it out. You're in charge there. Get that chain nose or bent chain nose. Can you see how I really, let me get in here tight so you guys can see this, how I really get it in right on the head of the tool like that. Then I close it, so I've covered half of that loop, and now I bend up at a 90 degree. Okay. And Lynn, we carry all of the craft wire right here at beadshop.com, and it is indeed tarnish free, a non-tarnish. It's a great quality, and the plating, I have put this sucker through its paces, and it really lasts and lasts. So there I've got two. Okay. I'm going to do these others so we've got all of our links together. So let me grab it here, bend it up at a right angle. I'm going to go a little bit faster now so that we can get through all of these, so it's not looking like paint, you know, like watching paint dry. So there we've got 3. And we're going to grab it here, bring it up, and here, grab, and it's just that half turn, that 90 degree angle. Okay, so we're getting these little components. Now you can see the components that I'm making would also be great for earrings. You can use them with more beads on the between, so you could also maybe make it longer for a necklace. It would look great. It looks like we have a question from Martha. Martha, about sterling silver. I am with you, Martha. I love to use sterling. I do a lot of fabrication work, a lot of soldering and fabrication, so I use a lot of sterling. This silver plate wire that I'm using, it's fairly soft, so it acts like dead soft wire. So it's really great to hone and practice your skills on. We are going to be adding a whole complement of sterling silver wire to beadshop.com. I actually just got the first tester samples in, and I'm going to make sure that all is good with it, and you'll see it up probably more towards summer of this year. It's going to be really great. But the silver plate, this is a non-tarnish, so I did want to mention, if you did want to antique this wire, it doesn't want to antique because of the non-tarnish coating on it. So dipping this in something like liver of sulfur or silver black won't antique your metals. Okay, so let's see how long this 2-inch block has given me here. Now we could, if I were just going to do these all together like what I call the roll-on bracelet, right? This bracelet, I would just link these little links together without a bead in between. And so that 2-inch coil gives me just shy of 4 inches. So maybe 2 of those coils, 4 inches, maybe about 4.5 inches would be perfect for just a roll-on bracelet just like this. Okay, And, oh, it looks like Dria's popped on. Hello, Dria. It's great to have you on to say hello. We also have, someone mentioned that they like the gold non-tarnish. We also carry that in the gold as well. Again, this plating is really, really good and solid on there, so it's not going to come off. So all of our wires will look great. Okay, so let me go ahead, and if you were just going to link these together, I want to show you how these would work. I'm just going to come in, let me get a little tighter. I'm going to link here. So see how I lift that little end? I add another little end right on. And I firmly come in, and see how I tuck that little edge. Whoops, sorry, you can't because I'm out of frame. There we go. How I tuck that right in so it won't come out. And that's how I would do this all the way across to connect a chain. But we're going to add some beads. So we actually don't need to connect these two together. So I'm going to take them apart. Come off there. Thanks, Dria. You know, when Dria and I were talking last night about Free Tip Friday, about what was going to go in the newsletter, I told Dria I'm doing something with wire and 8 and 5 millimeter rondelles, and that's all she needed to know for the newsletter. So I knew that she had to pop in and actually see what I was doing. So I hope you like it, Dria, and I'll send you some pictures so you can post it in the newsletter again later. So now let's make some components using this 8 millimeter bead, shall we? I like the look of that 8 millimeter rondelle. So again, this 8 millimeter is the glazed peach Czech glass. So I'm going to give it an old cut. Yeah, the English cuts, Dria, would be amazing. No one beats the English cut beads from beadshop.com. I love them so much, and they would work for this really, really well. Yeah, any bead would definitely work. They would be so fantastic. But I really dig these glazed peach that have that kind of mercury coating, mercury color coating. That will go perfect with those silver. So now let me pull some 24 gauge would work through these holes. Let me see. That'll work. Let me also see what other gauges might work with these beads. You could also make it like a two-tone kind of a piece. We could check and see if our 22 gauge, let me grab some 22 gauge here. I know I have some in this wire box. I just have to put my hands on it. Let's see, is this 22? It is. Here's some 22. Does 22 fit? Yeah, 22 fits beautifully. And let's see how 20 gauge fits. Because 20 gauge, I'm going to clip this little, well, I don't actually have to clip that little wrinkled piece off. You know what I can do? I've got my nylon jaw wire straightening plier. Look at that. It's like magic. Ta-da! Let's see if this fits. Yes, and the 20 gauge actually fits really beautifully. So if I were going to wire wrap these beads and make wire wrapped links, I could use 24 and it would be great. But since the 20 gauge fits so nicely, I can make a link here that's going to connect really nicely. I'll just leave it all right there. Thanks. So I'm going to cut an end right off of my wire. Let me scoot this down with my wire cutter, and I'm going to come in with my round nose plier. Let me get a little tighter so you guys can see, and I'm going to work right off the spool. You guys can see that there, right? Working right off the spool. And I'm going to come in, make a loop on the end, And if I wanted to be super consistent with all my links, I could use a little permanent marker to get a little line right there. So I would always be going right on that little line. But, whoops, come back here. Plier. And now I want to center that loop. Sometimes working off the spool can give you a little fit. There we go. Move that wire around. There we are. So you can see how I've centered that link right on the end of the wire there, and I'm making sure that link is nice and closed. Now, had I been thinking, and I'll do this on the next one, had I been thinking, I would have slid my bead on first, because then I could have slid my bead up to the loop, bent it, cut it over, and used exactly the right amount of wire that I needed. So I'm going to do that on the next one. So let me just cut this away, because this kind of defeats the purpose of working off the end of the spool. And so I'm going to make these loops go into the same plane. So I'm going to have this one facing up flat. I'm going to have this one do the same thing. We'll bend. And I'm going to clip away just enough so that my two loops will be even. So I'm using that round nose plier. And you guys, if I show you this side view here, you can see how I feed that wire just through the tips of the tool and stopping when the wire hits the loop or hits the bead and forms the loop. So let's see what we've got. The loops are almost the same size. If I wanted to be persnickety, and I'll be persnickety for this one, I can come in and I can make this loop actually a little smaller by clipping it just with my wire cutter here, my flush wire cutter. I get my round nose plier. I pull that loop back. See how I've pulled it back? And now I just work it forward again. And can you see how I've made those two loops match up a little bit better? Okay? Not totally necessary, but it's kind of a nice way to even everything out. Okay, so I'm going to do this real fast. I'm going to go at lightning speed here so we can get these guys done. So again, working off my spool, and I can even string on a few beads here. I don't know, how many do I have? 2, 4, 5 maybe. Okay, so now what I'll do is I will come in, I've made that flush cut. What I can also actually do is bend the wire. This is another way that I do loops, and I do this quite a bit. I'll bend right here at that right angle, and I'm leaving just under 1/4 of an inch here. Maybe it's about 1/4 of an inch. I'll come in, I'll roll that loop up and over the top. So I've got a nice even loop. Make that, fix that at that point. Slide my bead up. And now I will also bend my wire. Again, this sometimes working on the spool in the confines of the camera can make me a little crazy. So sorry about that. I'm going to bend that wire right at the top of the bead hole. Can you see that there? There we go. Ta-da, just like that. Now I'm going to make that cut again about 1/4 of an inch. Okay, just like that. And I could, if I'm really trying to production line everything, I'll go real fast, and I won't even make the other side of this yet. I'll just do all of these. So let's production line it. Roll it, roll it, roll it, roll it. Center it, bring the bead up, bend it at a right angle, cut it away. There's 2. Let's make sure that it's cut flush at the end. Bend at the right angle, up and over the top. Now we're going to start really going quickly. bending it over the top, bringing my bead up, bending the wire at a right angle, giving me that 1/4 inch, putting it down. 2 more to go. Clip, bend, up and over the top. Dree is mentioning about having the loops go in opposite directions. That'll also work. I think all you need to do is be consistent. That's all anyone ever wants. And clip, and up, and over the top, up and over, up and over. Oh, see? I was thinking already that I wanted to finish that one, so. But I'll get back to my streamlining, my production lining here. Bend, up and over the top. Once you get into kind of this production line mode, you really can work fast. Really, really fast. And clip. So now let's come in and I can really look at things as I make the loop on the other side, and I can make sure that my wire length is going to be about right. So I'm going to come in and up and over the top. So there's that one. So I've got that linked, that linked. Let me get these beads out of my way. All of these are mixing up. Let me tell those to go over there. So I've got 3 and my coils. Let's go ahead, and that looks like it's the right size, so let's close it up. Up and over the top, and let's do this one, up and over the top. I find when I'm in production line mode, if my hands are doing the repetitive task over and over, I get faster and faster and more consistent. Okay, and one last one. Okay, and this one. Up and over. Okay, now I'll come in and I'll use my bent chain and my straight chain nose, and I'll straighten everything out. And at this point I can see, oh, see how that loop and that loop are kind of 2 different sizes? I know, yes, Michelle, you mentioned I need my cute little bowls. I do. I didn't even grab bowls today. I just jumped on Facebook Live with hardly any preparation. There we go. That's even. And I'll just make sure that this one is even. Straight across. That loop again is a little big for me, so I'm going to clip it. Make it just a touch smaller. There we go. Close everything up. Good. That one looks good. That one looks good. That one's even. And this. Okay. So, let's lay this out. Shall we? Let's. So here's my tape measure. And let's see if we have enough of these guys. Just going to line them up, one behind the other. Yes. Look at that. These components would be great to make a whole bunch of, and then you can just have the fun of putting all these together. This looks like it's going to be just the right thing. So it looks like, though, see how this ends here and this ends here? So I need one more of these beads right here. Okay, so let me get this guy. Let me do one more 20 gauge. That's what I was using. I almost forgot what I was doing, which wire I was using. Bend at a right angle, and up and over the top. Now this wire chain link, if you are just starting out with wire work, this is a great one to begin with, right? You don't have to be too precise. And Lynn, you're just saying your problem is measuring. Well, with this, all you need to do is, I mean, I'm only measuring this for you guys because I'm on camera and I want to give you guys kind of a baseline. I probably would just make this and keep trying it on until it worked for me, right? But this will at least give you an idea of the length. So this is good. This is about 7.5 inches or so. It might be a touch smaller when we add everything together. Okay, so on that note, let's add everything together. What I like to do for connecting is this bent chain nose. So I'm just going to simply, since these are nice and closed, these bead connectors, I'm going to open and close the links on the coils because I haven't really done that yet. So it'll save me time. I'll open that up, slide that one on, and close it. Now I'll flip this guy over, grab that little end. Let me get nice and tight. Lynn, you could put a clasp on here, but you'll see when I put this on my wrist, it rolls just perfectly, so it can be clasp free. And I'll show you that in just a second. But if you did want a clasp, you could certainly add one. So I'm just going to go down the line, pull these open, attach them, and close them up nice and tight. See how my bent chain nose, you guys? See how those little fingers of the plier can get right in where you want them to be. So they're really easy to maneuver and manipulate. You get this guy. We're coming along. Putting this down, bending it over, and really tucking that little end right into the coil. If things get a little out of hand, see how this is kind of off, just get your plier and push everything back into shape. Now remember, ease up on the death grip on your pliers, you guys, okay? This is not a lifeline, it's just a plier. So you don't want to grab it too tightly and mark your wire, okay? So hold it loosely but tightly in your hand. Up, pull that up, I guess firmly, but loosely, I guess. You don't want to white knuckle it. And pull that right in there, okay? And lift. Let me move the picture over just a little so you guys can see that a little bit better. And pop that guy on. Pull this down. Let's go for this one. We're almost there. Okay. Well, Lynn, that's another good question. Lynn's question is, how will something like this hold up wearing it in the shower or swimming, stuff like that? You know, I always have a heavy sigh when people ask this because jewelry, when it meets moisture, always kind of shortens the life of your pieces. This non-tarnished wire, actually, I've worn quite a bit, and it wears very well. But water, as I say, always accelerates the wear, and especially the bead coating. Now, I did a little tester with our English cut beads, and I wore them for a week in and out of the shower and washing my hands and all of that stuff, and the coating didn't come off. So the way that these are made, that coating is applied when the glass is molten. It's not applied after the fact. So it does have a good staying power, but any time that our pieces are worn in the water, it's going to shorten that life. So I've just put this last one on. Grab it, pull it down. Let me give it one more measurement before we close it. So when it's all connected together, it's just it's just almost exactly about 7 inches. So let me see. I'm going to close it up and let's see if I can get this rolled on my wrist. Maybe I may have to add 1 or 2 more sections, but let's see how it goes. Let me open that up, put it on, or I could always add a clasp. So here's my nice little round bracelet. And let me see. Is it going to go on? Oh, it's so close. See that? Super close. Let me just, I'm going to make a couple more of these. I'll just make some beaded components because it's faster. But let's see. We had 2 inches of coil, right? So maybe I'd make 2, 4, 6, 7. I've got 7 of these coil components. So maybe I'd make 9, maybe. Sounds about right. Because again, I'm doing this all on the fly, so we're measuring it as we go. I'll put this guy on, bend, and I think that should give us, I'm going to make one more of these. That should give us the length that we need. And up and over. And I'll make one more here. Thank you, Drea. Thanks for jumping on. And I'll talk to you soon. Bend up and over the top. And again, all of our Free Tip Fridays and our Facebook Live broadcasts, you guys, you can come in and watch them after the fact right here on our Facebook Live page. Or you can also go right to our YouTube channel, and we've got a couple of playlists. One is our Facebook Live on Wednesday broadcast, and one is our Free Tip Friday broadcast. So you'll be able to watch these again and again and again. Alrighty, so let's connect these all together in a segment, and then I can come back and add another one a little bit later. Let's see if I open this up, put this guy on, close it, and let's put this right here at this link. I'm going to open it, add this, close it down, and connect this one here. Okay. And I'm going to close that one down. Alrighty, let's see if it'll roll. And yes, it rolls beautifully. Look at that. And you can see I can wear it with my stack. Looks great, just like so. And this, you can see how it just rolls right on the wrist. No need for a clasp. So I think all I need to do when I'm off camera and before I put it up on the blog, I will change out this bead for one of those coil beads, and we'll be good to go. Lynn, we do carry all of our tools just separately. We don't carry them, we don't sell them together in a kit, but you can pick and choose exactly what you need. We have our bent chain nose, our round, and our plain chain nose. We have our nylon jaw plier, and we have our flush cutter here. I did want to show you, just real quick before we sign off, how I might size this down one. I had that smaller, I think that was the 3.5 millimeter knitting needle, and I could use that with my 20 gauge to make an even tinier little segment. So let me just, I'm going to cut a quick piece of wire here, and just so you can see the how the smaller version looks. Let me actually get a little smaller here, and I'm going to wrap, and wrap. Yeah, the Xuron flush cutter, as you guys are mentioning, is a really terrific tool. The maxi shear cutter I use to cut up to 12 gauge wire, and it stayed nice and sharp. The one thing that I want to recommend, though, do not use it to cut your memory wire. Remember that this wire cutter and this wire cutter. Oh, thank you, Julie. Well, welcome. We're glad to have you as a first-time viewer, and we hope you come back. Thank you. You can see this is our flush cutter here. This is our memory wire cutter. So when you're cutting that hard steel memory wire, this is the cutter you want to use, because if you put memory wire on this guy, you're going to be sad. It's going to really wreck the heads of the tool. So I'm going to come in and just finish this coil up. Oh good, Gwenda, my mom's going to make a green one now to wear tomorrow. Sounds perfect. Sounds perfect, Mom. I should actually just put this one in the mail to you is what I should do, right? So here's a little coil. I'm just going to do this the same way. Let me get in a little tighter. And Sandra, that's a great question. Do the coils stretch from rolling on your wrist? They don't. So especially if you make it the right size, they just roll right on and off. Oh, well, Brandy, welcome as a first-time viewer as well. We're certainly happy to have you here. You know, for those of you who are fairly new to Bead Shop, you can go right to our website, beadshop.com, and you can go and sign up for our newsletter right on the homepage. You can also become a member of our Frequent Beater Club, our VIB, very important beater, where you get points for all of your purchases that you can redeem for, I don't know, fun discounts and things like that. But we do have a lot of great info that comes out in our newsletter. So you may want to go ahead and join us on our newsletter. I'm just arbitrarily kind of cutting these. Hopefully they're going to come out kind of even. Here we go. I'll make these three so you can see the different scale of the wire. Okay, so that little guy. These smaller ones I think would make great earrings. Be good times had by all for this little smaller gauge. And I think it would also look really fantastic to put this together as a necklace. I think it would be a great layering piece, right? So let me just pull this little end up, and you could make this coils exactly right, Cindy. You could make these coils different lengths so they could be long or short. You could make them out of different metals so you could mix your silver and gold or whatever you wanted to do. I've made a complete chain out of just the coil links in a small gauge, and it's a great piece to layer with. So this humble little coil chain component I think has a lot of long life. Thanks, Sylvia. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you stopping by. As we wrap up this broadcast, I'll just finish making these, and you can see how they play with the smaller beads here. So whatever you choose, you can see that anything from 20 gauge wire to 18 to even 16 gauge would look great, a little bit bigger. Can you see how the size of scale, that's a 20 gauge wire there, and your 18 gauge wire here, and you can see these 5 millimeter rondelles would look great with that 20 gauge, and I used that 18 gauge with the 8 millimeter rondelles. So there you have it. I'll go ahead and finish these two projects, and we'll pop them up on the website before the end of the day so you guys can play around with it this weekend. Just to mention, if you have not opened your newsletter today, you may want to do so, because there might be a fun little discount on there that directly relates to these Czech glass beads. It's our Czech glass bead sale for the weekend. So today is Friday. If you're watching this later, today is Friday, March 16th, and through Sunday night, March 18th, at midnight Pacific time if you use the coupon code RAINBOW25. We knock 25% off all of our Czech glass in stock, as well as our Ceylon that's in stock. But we've got a lot of really fun things coming up this weekend, so you may want to make sure and open those newsletters, and you'll see some great a great new project that's coming up. And we've also got some brand new Czech glass beads that are in stock as well. So make sure if you jump over to beadshop.com, go right to the home page and add your name to the newsletter, and all of your information stays private, and you'll be on our newsletter list. It'll be great to have you as part of our community. I'm going to go ahead and move our camera here around so I can see you as I sign off. There we go. You might have caught a glimpse of our lunch at the end of the table. It's almost lunchtime here for us in Redwood City, California. Alrighty. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm going to go ahead and slide this back on my wrist. It's kind of a fun, awesome project. I hope you guys enjoyed it. There, I'll pose with it. I don't know. You can see it there. There we go. I'll pose with it there. Great. Well, next week on Facebook Live on Wednesday at 10:30 Pacific time, we're going to be having fun with vintage finds. We have 2 great necklaces that I'm going to share with you. I'm also going to share with you some tips on glue and how to glue semi-precious together to make great centerpieces. We're also going to revisit macrame in this, so it's going to be kind of a part of our Born Yesterday series. I have a beautiful necklace from Janice, and I have, if I do say so myself, a pretty nice necklace from me that I'll be sharing with you on Wednesday. And Emily will be back with me at that time. And then at the end of the month, we've got Seed Bead School on Wednesday with Emily, and you guys are going to love this bead embroidery project. Well, everybody have a fantastic weekend. Stay creative. I really post what you make. I can't wait to see what you do with this technique. Thanks so much for joining me on beadshop.com. It's Kate Richburg for Free Tip Friday, and we'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.